The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back. Zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, right across the moat from Oakland, and right down the road from where my guest grew up. And as I promised the audience years ago, I will talk to the most interesting people on the planet. And Todd Marinovitch is here to prove my point. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Ralph. I appreciate it.
Good.
It's a pleasure.
Well, it's my pleasure and my honor because when I first saw your name on Facebook and approached you, I did it with my podcast is mostly baseball, mostly sports, this, that, and the other thing. And you certainly qualify as a guest from that standpoint. But all the questions of Todd Marinovitch, former Raider quarterback, first-round draft choice, kind of a do-it-as-he-pleases kind of guy. All those questions have been asked. I want to know, first and foremost, is what are you doing for fun these days?
What a great question. And before I answer that, I just have to, and I hate to start this off with correcting you, but I'm gonna. I did not grow up in the Bay Area. I was born, you could say I was born into the Raider family, and my dad was coaching with the Oakland Raiders in 1969 when I was brought into this world. And I was born in San Leandro, California, and we lived in Pleasanton. And then when I was, still very young, we, you know how the coaching profession is. The coaches move around a lot. And so from the Bay Area, we moved to St. Louis because my dad got a job with the then St. Louis Cardinals. And lived there a year, and then moved to Southern California, where that were my formative years. I went to school, my first kindergarten in Orange County on the Balboa Peninsula, and my dad was coaching with the Los Angeles Rams when they were in Anaheim. And so I'm a Southern California kid. I grew up on the beach, but I do definitely have a tie to the Bay Area, and that's where my dad, his family, he grew up in Watsonville near Santa Cruz, and he lived on a cattle ranch. His whole upbringing was, and it's kind of coincidental, I now live on a cattle ranch on the Big Island of Hawaii. And what I do for fun is, man, I love nature, Ralph. And I am I believe to be one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I live on a volcano, and it's not active at the moment, but I just missed, it was going off just a few short years ago. And I couldn't be in a better place physically and just as a person. It's been a long road, I got to tell you. And
I hear you.
Right?
For all of us.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a quarterback to experience the changes in the world, the changes physically in your body as they come, the maturity or the lack of maturity. It's really been kind of a mind fuck. That's the best way to describe it.
Yes, Very good description.
I'm about 20 years ahead of you, and I'm reading your biographies, and I'm reading all the interviews, seeing some interviews you did. I remember when things were different in the Bay Area. And if they were different in the Bay Area, they were different anywhere, all over the country. How have you experienced change, and what's been the most difficult part of changing over your life that you've incurred?
Ooh. Wow, good question, Ralph. I
can't just ask you about audibles.
Yes, and you said you started this thing off with you were going to hit me with some things I've never been asked, and I wanted to say good luck with that. But you've already done it. So when you mentioned your age, which is kind of cool, because when I got here to Hawaii, I knew nobody on the island. It was a complete leap of faith, and it was following really intuition that maybe this was a place that I could call home. And my close-knit, the first people I met are all older gentlemen. So my friends today, most of them are in their later years, and I would have never thought I could connect with somebody 20, 25 years older until now. I enjoy these guys so much because of their experience, and they're willing to share it with me. And today I'm listening. You know what? I was not listening for most of my life, and I paid the price.
Right. What was the main thing you didn't listen to? And I'm putting that in quotes because it's who would have you say you were 15 right now, and who are you listening to but not listening to at age 15?
Wow. Yeah, when I was 15, I was, a sophomore in high school, and my dad was somebody that I wish I would have listened to a little bit more. And that relationship grew, boy, it had its ups and downs for a while, and then and I think people can relate, because we all have dads. If not, we have father figures, and there's a tendency, and this is just my experience, to lecture as a parent, because now, Ralph, I'm a parent, and my soon-to-be 14, he turns 14 in a week, son is living with me here, and I catch myself constantly of lecturing, and nobody wants to be lectured to. I think. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there are some that like lectures. I don't. I want to have discussion, and conversations and share things with, but I just don't want to be talked to. So my dad and I, our relationship was so complex, and but the thing about it was, it got to a point where he was my best friend, and through everything, and a lot of people don't even know that fact, that what a complete 180 from when I was 15. I did not want to spend the time that I was spending with him. I dreaded him coming home from work, and towards our last 10 years of when he was on the planet, I wanted to spend every minute I could with him, and enjoyed his company, enjoyed his laughter, and it was beautiful. He passed away with an illness that a lot of people are experiencing, which is Alzheimer's and dementia, and I don't wish that on anybody. It was extremely painful, and he forgot all the people closest to him, and I thought, oh, our relationship is so tight, he'll never forget me, but he did. But
I'm sorry that you went through this. That's terrible.
It was, but you know what? There were, as bad as it was, and how painful it was, there were some magical moments in those last years of living in the moment with him. Because I learned that I'm not going to ask him, do you remember when? That's just not a question you ask somebody with memory loss. It was just enjoying the frickin' moment. And we had some moments with music and hanging out and laughter that were priceless. So I'm so grateful that I got to be there on his last years.
Tell me about the music that you shared.
Oh, the thing, it's so great because my dad was, he never showed emotion, and I believe that to be a generational thing. And it was just, that was what men did from his era, was bottle it all up. And so the last, say, 5 years of his life, he was in a memory care facility, and I picked him up, saw him daily, picked him up, and took him to his favorite health food store. And because he was just before the health craze, he was on that kick, and I'd take him, get him a smoothie, but I'd have music on, and it didn't matter the genre. And a lot of the time it was just like easy listening 80s stuff. And like I can clearly remember Hall & Oates coming on, the Sarah Smile song, and it was like clockwork. He would be, because he was a dancer, he had rhythm, he loved ballroom dancing, and so he'd be sitting riding shotgun, and he'd be into the song, and then I'd hear him go, oh no, here it comes, and just tears like streaming down his face. And he'd try to stop it, but there was no stopping it at this point. And so the floodgates were open for him in his last years, and I got to experience that. And it was priceless, like I said. And it didn't matter the music, Ralph. And then I would play, because it's something that I've done later in life, is play guitar and sing, and I love writing songs. And I never thought he would enjoy my music as much as he did. And so I'd just come over and play, and he would get upset when I stopped. And it was so cool.
Right. Hey, if the audience is listening, you are blessed, as am I, to get to know Todd Marinovitch in a way that first of all, I didn't even know existed. I was looking for things to ask you. And you're one of the most interesting people I've had on a program that specializes in getting interesting people to guest. Because I'm a kind of adult, not an adult, but adult. And so I got to learn from people. Let's go back to when you were 15. Were you playing any other sports besides football? And how did those other sports contribute to your athletic development?
Wow. Another great freaking question. And it was basketball 100% was the best thing, or the best sport that prepared me for any sport. I think the best athletes on the planet are basketball players. And I've seen basketball players step on to the field, and it translates. The athleticism translates from basketball to any sport, and I've seen this happen.
Michael Jordan, they said, there's a bust. He's playing a sport where he's over. He was playing double-A baseball with no baseball experience.
Right.
And I remember those days. You were in your prime in those years. athletically. Tito Francona was his manager, and they were very. It impressed me, the transition from basketball to baseball that he made, and I wonder if you didn't play football, would you have played basketball?
Absolutely. It was my first love, and I played all three growing up. So I was a little leaguer, I was youth basketball, and I did play tackle football, which is another topic about that I just would love to see America wake up and abolish youth tackle football, because it's crazy to let kids with brains that aren't developed put helmets on and run into each other, and we think it's cool and we encourage it. I started to play.
Encourage it with adults, and that's not necessarily great.
No, and you know what? And it's not, Ralph, but you know, America's set in their ways. That's not a news flash, but now, what can I do about it? I have experience of losing several friends, like really close friends that I played with at USC due to this CTE, which is just brain damage caused by concussions. And all these gentlemen played tackle football as youth. And so there's a lot of excuses around that, like kids don't run into each other that hard. The rules are changing, so it's safe. All of that is false. It's still brain damage. And if a parent, and I know parents would feel similar to the way that I do if they were armed with the proper information, but there's a force out there that doesn't want people to know the truth. And what I can do is open my mouth, and that's what I do. You can't shut me up. You're going to have to interrupt me, Ralph, and please do, because I'll just keep talking about this.
I'll let you talk, and we'll have a podcast that's fabulous. Did you ever take a really hard hit where you got your bell rung, and did it change your mindset on football? Did you, wow, what is this all about?
I didn't know the severity, and I don't think anybody did that played when I did. It was thought of, it's a bell ringer. We call them bell ringers. If we lost consciousness like I had, it was we got knocked out. And then the only thing that the trainers would do was flash fingers in front of our eyes and maybe put some smelling salts in front of our nose, and then say, if we got the fingers right, like how many fingers am I holding up? And I could guess, I was back in the next play. So there was no protocol like today. And so there has been some improvement, and we're trying to protect the players, which is great. But the thing about football, it's violent, and it will always be. And you could change the rules, and that might be a little bit, change in the right direction, and the game is changing that way. But I'll tell you what, we're evolving as human beings. Guys are running faster, they're bigger, and so the force that they're applying is staggering, and there will always be head injuries. And so the thing about it is, as long as people know and kids know what they're getting into, or young men know. See, my son wanted to play when he was 8. And this should be a red flag for any parents that may be listening. Of all the NFL guys that I've played with, not one of them has let their son play youth tackle football.
Wow.
And they've waited, and I've waited till my son is in high school, and my son is going to be a freshman next year, and I've been dreading it as we've been getting closer, because it is my job as a parent to protect him. But guess what? I have tried to redirect him from this game of football his whole life. I put golf clubs in his hand. I've given him a soccer. He wanted none of it. So now it's my decision to support him in this, if this is his passion, and it is. And so it was the reason why I moved to this remote place on this island, to get him away from where I grew up and I played. I thought it would be completely unfair to him, with the last name Marinovitch, to play quarterback in Orange County. I wanted him to have his own experience with football. And so that's why we're here. And he's enjoying it. And it's a joy to watch. The pads haven't been put on. The helmet has not been strapped on yet. But we're months away, Ralph. And so it's about to get real.
Yeah. You still have a chance for a reason, you might say. But you also have a chance to let him fly on his own, which is ultimately, my kid is 32. So, so I speak from both negative and positive experiences, but you got to let the kid be.
Yes.
And
I'm learning as I go, Ralph. As this parenting thing, whoo, what a challenge. I have a girl who's 11, Coco, and she's a free spirit, and she is her own young lady at 11, and it's crazy how fast they grow up. But what I'm learning is and it's from my experience, is that I don't want to rule through fear, like a dictator, like the household that I grew up in. That wasn't effective. So I'm just trying, and I'm doing a pretty good job of just loving them no matter what, and they know that. And I have no expectations of them really doing anything other than being kind to other people.
Beautiful. I wrote a meme a long time ago, and it was the only meme that I ever read that I went, whoa, this is pretty good. And it's this about parenting. Don't pass on all your neuroses to your children. They'll be getting their fair share from your mate.
Wow. Right.
So you
so pretty much we're telling them they're fucked.
Yeah. Well, as a pragmatist, it's better that they know it now than they come to find out about. We're all fucked.
Yeah, and Ralph, the number one thing, this is what I'll say about just my relationship with people and with my kids, is that my life changed when I was vulnerable and transparent and honest with the people closest to me, and that's including my kids, because I don't want to put on this facade like I don't make mistakes, because that is a lie, and I don't want them to. They
will Google you soon enough.
Exactly. Yeah. So honesty has changed my life, Ralph, 100%. And it's such a simple spiritual principle of just being honest. And now there's layers to this honesty, because I know what being honest with you, Ralph, is just telling you the truth as I see it. But now, what about being honest with me? Now that is a different type of honesty.
Right, when you look inside of your head.
Yeah.
Well, that's what cannabis is for. Don't tell the kids. Let's get off our parental selves for a second, and let me ask you something that may help parents in developing an athlete. What does it take to move from one level, Pop Warner on up, to another? And naturally, everybody isn't going to get the results of a number one draft choice and a quarterback for the Raiders to draw upon. But in fulfilling as much as one can from a career, what does it take to develop?
Wow. Well, my first question would be, what does the athlete want? And Now, if it is a very, very lofty goal of making your sport your profession, that is, people do not realize the amount of time that takes, because of this society that we live in and these little snippets that we're watching on our phone, and we see the NFL production on Sunday. It paints the picture like these guys that are playing on TV just happen to show up there and are lucky. And that could be the furthest thing.
The first 500 fans get to try out. That type of thing.
It takes so much dedication. It's almost mind-blowing for the normal person that would love to do that on Sunday, but in reality, they do not understand or would even consider spending that much time doing something. And so it really separates a lot of, it might snuff a lot of dreams if the youngsters realize what it takes. And I'm not into stepping on anybody's dreams, but I am into reality today. And I think parents plant these seeds that they can, one, maybe be a star in high school and then get a college scholarship, which would save them money. And then maybe they can play Major League Baseball or whatever sport that they'd like to see their child play. It's up to the kid. And if the passion is there, they're willing to spend the time. And that's a huge question that I think we need to ask. Whose dream is it?
Absolutely. The dream for you, did that include kind of worshiping the players ahead of you?
Yeah.
I want to be Johnny Unitas. So
Absolutely.
In your case, you probably don't even know who Johnny Unitas was. That's how old I am. But you know what I'm saying. Emulating.
Well, that's what sparked it. Absolutely. And I am a NFL history buff, so I know the high top black shoes, number 19, without a doubt, flat top, Johnny U. But when I was young, I was looking at guys like Dan Fouts, Dan Marino, of course Elway, Kenny Stabler, and what I did, like most kids do, is I have an imagination, and I have a super vivid, creative one, being an artist. And I pretended I was those guys, and I continued that, emulating them, and that's the way I created my game. And I pieced it out, and when I dropped back from the center, I pretended I was John Elway because he was so athletic and strong and powerful. But then when I got in the pocket, I was Dan Marino because Dan could spin it like nobody's business. And then when I was on the move, I was like Joe Montana because he was so fluid and made it so, a catchable ball. So to answer your question, yes. The guys that I watched, I became in my mind, and I tried to be them.
Wow. Thought so. I really don't know that many number one draft choice professional quarterbacks, but in my head I knew that it just didn't come out of the blue. It had to come from one's imagination. I can be. Thinking you can be is half of it. And
absolutely. And it didn't hurt that my dad was bringing me along to training camps when I was, 5 and through 12 and 13 years of age, where I was actually 11 or 12 at the Ram camp, staying staying with the players and the coaches and going out to practice and throwing drills at 12, that's an advantage. Because I didn't look at those guys on the team as superstars. Now, when I brought a friend from school to it, I got to see their eyes just get like saucers, and they were looked at as almost gods. But I was seeing them on a daily basis, and I knew that I wanted to do what they did, and I knew that I would get there. There was no question in my mind that I would be playing on Sundays.
When did you know for sure that this was for you?
When I entered Mater Dei High School my freshman year, and I played in my first high school game as a freshman with adults, because these guys were 17, well, not, but mature young men at 17, 18 years old, and I am leading them in this season opener. I hadn't even gone to a class yet at Mater Dei. It was the first game of the year, and it was such a big game that the game was at a local junior college where there was 15,000 people. I had never played in front of, before then I was playing in front of parents, and now I walked into like a stadium. And after that game, I remember telling my dad, I want to do this from now on. It was a feeling that is hard to describe, and it was challenging because I was scared. And it allowed me to feel fear and not run from it, and feel what it was like to be a member of a team, and know that I wouldn't be doing this if I was by myself. You wouldn't see me. But I felt I got confidence and I got strength from the guys around me, and I leaned on them, and I was all in from that first game. I was like, it was a feeling that I had never experienced, and I just wanted more. Well, let's just do a side note. I have an addictive personality, Ralph. And so I was addicted to playing on a team in front of people. That was a freaking feeling that is indescribable.
Right. It's that wanting to be seen in the spotlight.
Yep.
That's a star quality. You don't pick that up. You're born with it. That early development, you were special. Who thought you were special other than your dad when you were a little kid?
You know, it was my youth basketball coach, and he ended up from 5th till 8th grade. His name is Gary McKnight, and he ended up taking the head coaching job at Mater Dei and turned Mater Dei into a basketball dynasty. And Gary was the first one that really saw my ability. And even on the basketball court, he was the first guy that said, Todd, I will take you out for not shooting. And you are in range when you step into the gym. So that's when a coach gives you that kind of a green light, it made me feel special.
I'll bet you still tingle from those words.
Sure. And you know what's cool about chills is I never get chills on a lie.
Gotcha. In other words, if he was blowing smoke up your ass, it wouldn't have meant anything to you.
No, and if you were throwing smoke up my ass, and I would never get a chill from anything you said. But maybe before this conversation is over, I might get one, because I can't generate chills on my own. They come from the spirit or the soul.
Well, here's the chill I want to pass on to you. Just the way you communicate, that you tell me you communicate with your kids, you're still a hero. And it has nothing to do with football. It has nothing to do with basketball. It has nothing with skill other than communication skills and the ability to show that your kids are loved. And that's, so you passed the test and can come back and be my friend at any time.
I appreciate that, Ralph. I do. And the thing about it is what because of my experience in playing all these sports and being dedicated to football for many, many years, it's molded me into who I am today. And so without that, I don't even know if I could behave and relate with other humans like I do. And my struggle with addiction is a huge part of the way I see the world today. And I'm grateful for all of it. I mean, the highs that I've had and the extreme, extreme lows.
Right. It feels something, somebody told me once. Doesn't matter. You're not feeling well? Okay, that's better than feeling nothing.
Nothing,
and,
right.
You've been a pleasure to get to know, and I hope you come back, Todd Marinovitch.
I'd love to, Ralph. I enjoyed this, and thanks for having me again. And
Beautiful.
Go Raiders.
Go us.
Yes.
How about that? I'll ask you, I can't let you go without asking you something about your Raider experience that stands out. Doesn't have to be high, doesn't have to be low, but maybe first day in training camp. What was it?
Well, when you asked me about if I wish I would have listened, and what popped in my head immediately was my relationship with Marcus Allen. And he was by far the best football player I had ever played with or ever been around. And the way he carried himself, we're not even talking his talent level. I mean, he, as a running back, he did it all. I mean, I could talk about Marcus for a long time because there's only one football player that has ever played the game to win a national championship in college, win a Heisman Trophy, and then go on to win a Super Bowl and win an MVP of a Super Bowl. He's the only guy to ever do any of that, and there's a reason, because he's just the best football player ever. And I got a chance to play with him, and he took me under his wing, and I had a feeling it's because I went to the same university as he did. And he really tried. I mean, really tried to get through to me at that time in my life where I really needed some direction, and he did it with so much love. And if I had any regret, it would be that I would have listened to Marcus. Gosh, because he tried, man, and my hat's off to him. What a great human being he is.
How did the rift between Al Davis and Marcus Allen ever come to be?
Wow. Now that is a question I wish I could answer. And to be honest, I don't even think Marcus could answer. It tore him up. And he had so much integrity that he kept his mouth shut. When the players chose him to be the captain, Al said, "We need another captain." When I got there and he was just a third down back, I said, if I'm the starter, Marcus needs to be in there every freaking down. And what they did, they brought in the best backs they could. So when I was there, they signed Eric Dickerson, they signed Roger Craig, and it was like they were trying to do everything to not allow him to carry the football. And he didn't open his mouth, and he never talked bad about, the Raiders. All he did was when he got an opportunity to go somewhere else, he did. And because of all the time he spent on the sidelines when he should have been playing, it lengthened his career.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah.
And sometimes things turn out for the best. Yeah. For the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, June 2nd has turned out for the best. Got to interview Todd Marinovitch. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thanks for being here, Todd. Come back soon.
Thanks, Ralph. I will. Okay. Thanks, Ralph.
All I can say is Bye now, and adios and happy trails to everybody. This has been a thrill for me, and I try to have every day on some level be a thrill for me. And today it really was. You took me away from my troubles. Thanks again, Todd Marinovitch. Thanks for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tycho, the weak link of it all. Adios.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.